you remember,
They failed miserably.
if you remember at the time when Elaine Jarvis was suing for that money, I made multiple posts where where did that money come from, and did you claim it on your IRS at the end of the year?
You know, not only that, but in a civil lawsuit,
you have to.
Discovery opens up both ways, and you were going to subpoena all of Elaine's communication, all of the girl that brought the money. You were going to subpoena all her communications, and guess what? Elaine Jarvis suddenly dropped the $25,000 case that, according to them, was a slam dunk. This was a slam dunk. The girl had text messages showing that she brought in allegedly $25,000, and this was going to be in and out of court, just like that. Give me back my $25,000. And all of a sudden, Elaine drops the case. So she's no longer representing that stripper girl.
It shouldn't be that hard to claim and show that you filed with the IRS the money that you took out and pumped money into Mustafa's case, unless that money came from somewhere. I mean, I remember that girl brought in cash.
Cash money. I mean,
did you claim it on your IRS at the end of the year?
To say, I'm here from Michigan, and I have this large sum of cash. It was in her purse, a giant stack of cash. She says, this is for Mustafa's lawyer.
I have a recording. Guess who says...
And there's plenty more where that came from.
Guess who said I gave her that money?
Who says that?
Evelyn Horton.
She says she gave her the money.
She said she gave her the money, and Evelyn Horton is the alleged witness in the Mustafa Aljazari case that's falsifying.
As Amy Hodson.
I mean, the body cams are sealed because when you open the body cam and you see that Evelyn Horton on a body cam says 1, 2, and 3, and then turns around and says, I wasn't there, I didn't hear or see anything. That's a witness that's falsifying statements. That's manufacturing probable cause.
So when Rob Davis says, I have an idea about this case.
That's why they seal the body cams.
It's going to cost us money.
Yeah.
They're talking about pumping money through a individual that, I mean, when she came in, she says, hey, I'm just like you. I'm originally from Iraq. I'm here to help your family. I can't believe your brother's going through that. We, as an Iraqi community, we have to stand together. And I'm here with this giant bag of cash. Here you go. Who's Mustafa's lawyer? We told her the lawyer, okay? And she began having private conversations with Mustafa's lawyer.
I have the recording of the conversation.
That is crazy.
I have the phone call recording when Blake Weiner was hired by Evelyn Horton.
That is crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, the reason that these body cams, they're terrified that these body cams are on the internet because the community is getting a hold of Mustafa Aljazari case, and they're verifying this on body cams.
And by the way, you know that woman that brought in the stripper did not work with you, because the next conversation I had with Blake, he's like, who is that woman? Who is that woman? Like, how do you know her? He's questioning. He's not telling me that she's saying negative things about us. But I got a call from somebody else in an organization, in a civil rights organization. And he flat out told me, he said, that lady, I would be aware of what you tell her, because she called me immediately after we were on a three-way call. She called me immediately after, and she's saying a lot of negative things about you guys. I would be aware, because the things she's saying are very, very dangerous.
Rob Davis.
They're very dangerous. He says, be aware. And apparently that was Evelyn Horton, that same woman that brought in the stripper with a large bag of cash.
So when Rob Davis says, I have an idea to employ on a police body cam, when he says, I have an idea to employ into this case, but it's going to require spending money, well, here we are. We have the body cams where we're finding out who's pumping money into Mustafa's case to hire this lawyer to sabotage the case.
The funniest thing is, Rob Davis wants a refund because it didn't work. The sabotage, this whole thing about derailing Mustafa's case, just stalling it, and all this fucking around, it did not work. So they're attempting to get a refund. And Elaine Jarvis, at first, she said, I'll get your refund. I'll get your money back. Okay, if you give me a percentage. Okay, but the moment you said on social media, you said, bring it, bitch, bring it. Because discovery goes both ways. We're going to open up your communication, and we're going to find out, we're going to connect the dots. Rob Davis, Rob Sermon, Robert Drum, Stephanie Claiborne, Evelyn Horton, all these people are going to get connected because their communication is going to be out. And she says, you know what? I don't want the $25,000. You can keep it. I don't want it anymore.
Once you said did you file it with the IRS? All of a sudden, they ran away.
Exactly. You mean you don't want your $25,000 back?
It's going to open discovery, and you're going to subpoena
Come and
their
get
cell
it.
phones. The problem here is these bodies. See, if you didn't have the file, if you're not releasing these documents, these body cams, the community can't verify, and it'll be your word against the county.
I mean,
against
Amar,
these people.
they are
But the
bribing.
fact-
They are bribing every entity that comes into this case. They are bribing that person. Just take a look at the crash reconstructionist who you hired. You hired him, and they're bribing him. I mean, at some point, your expert, who's supposed to be non-biased, who's supposed to give a completely different analysis from Drum's falsified report,
Yeah.
at some point he began offering Drum a job. Okay? And your defense attorney is standing right there. What an inappropriate conversation to be in. Your defense attorney, who knows the officer falsified the report, who knows the officer falsified the reconstruction report, okay? And they're all buddy-buddy behind closed doors. They're all buddy-buddy. And if you didn't have the body cam, you would never be able to know that the crash reconstructionist you hired is now compromised. You wouldn't know.
And that's exactly what I want to talk about. I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the vehicle, the Mustafa Aljazari vehicle, the Suburban, how we hired an independent expert to reconstruct the vehicle, why we hired an independent expert, who told us to hire an independent expert, what happened when the independent expert got there, and
And what happened afterwards?
exactly.
Why was his report such a secret?
Now, we have evidence that Mustafa's vehicle was crushed and staged by the police department.
By the way, I'll just say this before you continue. Apparently, till this day, your expert did not share his findings with Blake Weiner. Did you know that? Your expert
Exactly.
that somewhat inspected Mustafa's vehicle and was buddy-buddy with Robert Drum and Casey Stevens, he has not shared his findings with Blake Weiner, who was supposed to go into trial back in December. And now Mustafa's new attorney is still asking questions. Where are your findings, sir?
Well,
We paid money for that report. Where is your findings?
I'll tell you why the independent expert, the company that we came, what was his name?
Stephen Keen.
Stephen Keen. Do you remember his company? Stephen Keen. The reason he's not sharing his finding is because when he showed up at the vehicle, he was supposed to scan it by a machine called the Pharaoh. A Pharaoh scans the vehicle and tell you, reconstruct the vehicle accident. Will tell you where was this vehicle impacted from. It's a complete scan. Now, on Bodycam, you see that that Stephen Keen, the independent expert, is scanning the vehicle. But my question is, what's the point of scanning the vehicle after the police department crushed and
After they've
staged
crushed it, exactly.
that vehicle? The machine is only gonna pick up after it was crushed. It's not gonna give you an accurate reading anymore. It's not gonna be able to reconstruct this accident because the vehicle has been crushed and staged by the police department. Now, I remember we hired Casey Stevens, and we found out that Casey Stevens is compromised. The defense attorney, Casey Stevens, was compromised. That he had a history with the investigator that falsified Mustafa's statement.
Here it is. It's called Traffic Safety Consultants Incorporated out of Richmond, Virginia, and the guy that owns the company is Stephen T.
Can you airdrop it so I can pull it up on the screen? And I want to slow down the conversation because I want to go through these details. I want to go over the vehicle, why it hasn't been reconstructed, and then I want to move on to Chad Mason, and how he cut the wire in Mustafa's dash camera. We have a body cam, and how this dash camera is cut and muted by this police officer. Mustafa's dash camera, today the county is telling you that it has no audio and is cut before impact. And mysteriously, it has 17 frames missing from the inside of the vehicle. Well, we have evidence that a police officer, his name is Chad Mason, cut and edited this dash camera.
Admit it, understand. It's on the record.
So,
for anybody interested, go print out the transcript from Prince William County, October 31st, 2024, or you can join this podcast and listen to the conversation yourself of Chad Mason openly admitting he tampered with Mustafa's dash camera and says, whoops, I did not know that I can't tamper with digital evidence. I didn't know that as a police officer, I'm not allowed to tamper with digital evidence.
Now, let's take a break from the vehicle really quick. We'll come back to the vehicle and the reconstruction of the vehicle. I want to talk about Chad Mason. There's a body cam here where it shows that an officer goes up to another officer and he makes up some gibberish conversation. And when the other officer doesn't understand what he's talking about, he continues to have a gibberish conversation. And then when he didn't understand what he was talking about, he started pointing on his body cam. And he's basically telling him, when you're talking, you're on body cam.
He's
reminding them of the body cam that is recording. Now, I want to play this body cam to show that these officers are the way they communicate and the way they remind each other that there's a body cam. And then I want to go back to Chad Mason, the officer that handled the dash camera, that made contact with the dash camera, who today we have a dash camera that's cut and muted.
Allegedly.
And he admitted on the stand that he's the one that broke chain of custody, took possession of the dash camera for 2 days before he got a warrant. And today he handled the dash camera. And today we have a dash camera that has no audio and it's cut before impact.
And before digital evidence got a hold of it.
And when digital evidence, digital forensic got a hold of it,
it's been too late.
It's been too late. And then she admits that it does have audio. But today we have a dash camera that has no audio. Now, Mohammed, do me a favor. Go over to exhibit. Here you'll see investigator Robert Drum walk up to two officers that are having a conversation, and he's reminding them of their body cam being on.